Hi everyone, my name is Olександра Гаврилюк, and you are listening to a podcast in the CU University. I'm a founder of the CU University, where we have helped and keep helping harmonized capitalists hit their next milestone in business faster. And today I have Greg Ross here, who joined me, and we will share some of the news, some parts of his story, because we truly believe that his expertise could be very, very helpful to those of you who are looking to expand into the US market, who are looking to close more deals, to work with American customers or any kind of global customers per se. Because as we know, capitalism was born in the United States, and I think it's important for us as a business school to cover and to get that expertise. So I'm really excited and happy that Greg here joined us. He used to train sales team and hit an overperformed sales quota at Vista Equity Partners. If you don't know the name, please Google it. And I'm very happy to share that he's now working a lot with Ukrainian companies on helping them get more expansion in the US. Hi, Greg. Welcome.
Hello, Vitayu. Hi, Sasha. Nice to see you.
Okay, I didn't know you know some words in Ukrainian.
Just a few.
So just a few. When did your story start? I mean, when was your first client from Ukraine, or when did you make the first contract for the US customers and
Yeah,
Ukrainian customers?
yeah. So thank you, first of all, for having me on the podcast. It's great to have a chance to talk to you. And, I have a heart for Ukraine, so I really appreciate the opportunity to get our mission out to everyone and let them know, what expertise I have, but more importantly, what's on my heart, right? So I think that's very important. My story goes back over 20 years. So I've been in software and technology for over 20 years now. I carried a bag. That's what we call selling software in America. Uh,
Carry the
I, I,
bag?
yeah, actually, I have the bag right here behind me. So
Okay.
we carry like a leather bag with our laptop and all of our materials.
Okay.
So it's
All
well
right.
weathered, well worn. So I carried a bag. I sold enterprise software for about 2 decades here in the US. I'm an elite salesperson. I've always been in like the top 5% of sellers at the enterprise level. And just like everyone else, I kind of scrapped my way up from nothing to make a career for myself in sales. And
Mhm.
I sold for ADP, which is a $20 billion company. They're kind of a well-known name. I was on the sales leadership council there. I helped shape their sales strategy, specifically how they use technology in sales.
Mhm.
And then I was a global sales training leader and enablement leader at Vista Equity Partners, which, like Sasha said, Google it if you're not familiar with the name, but it's pretty much a household name in the software world here in the US. They have a $150 billion portfolio of only software companies. And so I had the privilege of leading global sales training efforts, training hundreds and hundreds of enterprise account executives in their
Mhm.
methodology, because they have their own insights and value-based selling methodology, which is highly
Mhm.
proprietary. So, I've been exposed to a lot of best practices. And as of 3 years ago, I decided to shift and start focusing on things that I'm passionate about,
Did you
trying to live
quit?
a life of
Can I
impact.
interrupt you a little bit? Did you quit Asta Vista then, 3 years ago, or why did
No,
you
no.
kind of went out of the career track?
Well, yeah, that's it. That's a great question. So when COVID hit, as you know, a lot of the training shifted, right? So we weren't flying people in from all across the world to train on sales best
Hmm.
practices anymore. That pretty much died when COVID hit in the
Ah,
US.
okay.
So I shifted gears and I worked as a senior consultant helping advise tech startups with their go-to-market strategy. And this is all on
Hmm.
my LinkedIn. People can go check it out. But
Sure.
during that time, I basically worked with over 20 funded startups that worked with
Mm.
other equity groups and helped them launch successfully. And I acted as their head of sales each time, getting them off the runway and launched, and helped them hire their sales team and everything. So that was kind of the crescendo of my career. That's where I made a just crazy, stupid amount of money in the software industry and like really reached the peak of the
Working with
mountain.
startups or working in corporate?
Well, working in corporate first, as you know, there's a lot of money in enterprise sales, but
Yep.
working with startups as an advisor, when you know what you're doing and you can almost guarantee that
Hmm.
they'll be successful with their launch, people pay good money for that. So I found myself in a situation where I was like, I could keep working, or I could like pivot and focus on things that, I wanted to live a purpose-driven life. That was really important to me. So I had this kind of awakening moment in my soul, and decided to try to use my sales and business skills to do something good in the world.
And what do you call the stupid amount of money?
Well, that's the big question. But I moved here to the lake in North Carolina. I bought a 4,000 square foot home.
Okay,
Bought
sounds good.
another home in Jacksonville. So I can send you some receipts if you'd like to see them, Sasha.
No, I just like to be provocative,
Yeah,
because I traveled a lot and I lived in many places. Like I lived in the States for 2 years or a little
yeah,
bit more, and I'm still Ukrainian at heart. So I can combine the mentalities, I can be sugarcoated as an American, then I can be tough as a Ukrainian. So
yes.
I try to play that because I'm all of them, all of
I
those
love it.
identities.
I love both
Okay.
sides of the coin. So I love it. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds
Um,
good.
yeah.
Okay, so what happened 3 years ago? I mean, I know your
Yeah.
story, but I would really like to share it quickly before we hit the spot
Sure.
where how we come in to the Ukrainian market. So, what happened there?
Yeah, so this is really a crazy story. When the invasion started in Ukraine, I had a very dear friend that lived here close to me in North Carolina. His name's
Mm-hmm.
Vasily. And some people watching this podcast may have had the opportunity to meet him because he traveled with me to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the co-founder of American Technology Partners. So he's a really nice guy. He owns multiple businesses. He's an affluent person, but he immigrated from Ukraine about 26 years ago. So he's been
Mm-hmm.
in the US for a long time. When the invasion happened, he called me like in the middle of the night. He was just like absolutely terrified because his mother still lived in Ukraine and
Mm-hmm.
still was living in the family home. His brother had been living with her. They had a bunch of their, vehicles, their family home there. Well, a rocket hit the power station just a half a mile from her home, scared her to death. She lost power. And just like many people, I think, can relate to this watching this podcast, she's running for her life. And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, our time. So she called Vasily, her son, and she said, "You have to help me. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm afraid." And so he wanted, as any good son would, to go and save his mom. So he called me and said, "Would you come with me to help me? I don't want to go by myself. I'm afraid to go by myself."
Mm-hmm.
I said no initially because I thought this is way too dangerous. This was right when the invasion
Well,
first started.
I will make a note that you're a father of four and you have responsibility, to be there as a father and not to risk your life. As a parent, I understand because
Yes.
sometimes now we are not responsible only for our life, but also for the future for our kids. Mhm.
That's true. And you and I both know that when you're married, you have a business partner that you have to get buy-in from, right? And I thought there's no way my wife is going to say yes to this, right? So, but this is really interesting. This is where kind of fate stepped in. So the next
Mm.
day, I had my children at a park. I'm watching them, and I have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. And I was scrolling on Facebook, and I saw a post of a little girl, Elisa Hlans, who was killed during the invasion. And this is a really unique situation because she died because of a rocket attack, but her grandfather jumped on top of her and shielded her from the blast. And so even though she died, her body was okay to show online. There was no gruesome, whatever. So I saw a picture of her, and I'm looking at my daughter, who was 6 years old at the time, and I'm looking at Elisa, who was 6 years old. And she looked exactly like my daughter. And I'm not kidding you, Sasha. I cried for like 45 minutes. It broke me
Mm-hmm.
down to see that picture of her.
Mm-hmm.
And I get emotional just thinking about it. And I called Vasily like on the spot, and I said, "Vasily, I'm 100% in. I want to go with you. And let's not just go save your mom. Let's take some money with us. Let's take some of our friends who also are business owners, entrepreneurs. Let's donate money to some humanitarian groups there. Let's see if we can make an impact and stop what's happening there." Because I view the Russian aggression as like the pivotal moment of our time. I think it could be the first battle of World War III or the last battle of World War III, depending on who wins. So I made a decision to go, and it changed
Mm-hmm.
my life forever.
Wow. Yeah, I think also being in a safe environment and seeing something so terrible, so
Mhm.
devastating is you cannot wrap your head around that because
Yeah.
the war happened when I was in Turkey. I was actually attending a training. I was studying,
Mhm.
and you see happy people drinking wine, whatever, in a great
Right.
hotel, and you're watching the news and you understand and you get the calls from friends, you help friends. I was booking apartments in Spain to help my friends get out, and
Yes.
you're just really terrible when you're in an environment where people keep living their life and they enjoy their life, and then
Yes.
you are in the context of total disruption. And I think I understand your point, because when it gets to kids, something
Mhm.
so innocent, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you ended up going with Vasily to Ukraine that time. Which months was it?
This was about maybe 5 to 7 weeks after the Russian forces withdrew from the cities they were occupying. So you remember
Also
they,
in like in March
yeah,
or April. Okay.
yeah,
April.
maybe late February to
Mm.
mid-March, sometime in that time frame. So I was there when it was very fresh, and I traveled to we drove from Lviv east to Kyiv, and there's
Hmm.
a long highway route there. And the first city that we came to was Borodyanka, where I saw
Hmm.
damage and the apartment buildings destroyed. We drove down the main street. Every single apartment building was either blown in half or completely destroyed. It was incredible. I had never seen anything like it. And we went
Mm.
to Bucha, we went to Irpin, some of those cities that had been occupied. And I drove down the street in Irpin with a friend of mine. I saw the street of death where hundreds of innocent Ukrainian civilians were massacred. I
Hmm.
saw the bullet holes in every fence, every home, every single street where they had driven down the street and just fired into the houses. And
Wow.
I looked at that and I said, this isn't a war. This is like a war crime. This is an
Mm.
invasion. It's a genocide of the
Yeah.
people here. None of these targets were military targets. And so what I saw there actually fueled this fire to like this desire to do something urgently, because I saw the suffering, not just with the children, but with the innocent civilians. It was
Hmm.
terrible. It was terrible. And it was a rare, and you know what? It's a unique opportunity because not very many American people got to see that, honestly, with the
Hmm.
media coverage.
Of course.
But I
Of
did,
course.
and I try to tell everyone about what really happened in Ukraine because it's awful.
How did you later turn that into a creative spark?
Yeah, so we're flying back. I mean, we spent like 3 weeks in the country, right? I worked with widows whose husbands had been killed in the war. I worked with orphans whose families had been killed. I
Mm.
worked with the elderly who were too medically fragile to be evacuated that were in hospice.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, so we wanted to make an impact. So we spent time working with churches and different groups, actually visiting
Mm.
widows in their homes, visiting with the elderly. So we tried to do as much as we could. But we're flying back, right, on the international flight back to North Carolina. And I'm sitting there. We went as a group. I think there were 5 of us. We're all business owners, entrepreneurs. And Vasily said, there's got to be something more that we can do in Ukraine. But what do we do? It was like, okay, what do we do? Do we invest in, some businesses? I mean, we're not billionaires, right? So we have a limited
Mm.
impact we
Not
can make
yet.
there. Not yet, right? So I guess that partially answers your question about how much money I made. So not a billionaire. So we're talking about this, and Vasily said, Greg, Ukraine is a technology hub in the world. There's like a tremendous amount of tech companies in Ukraine. Don't you work in that industry? Aren't you somehow tied to that industry? I said, oh yeah, I'm like in the top 10% of software sales experts in America. He said, Greg, you got to do something. Start a company, start a consulting firm, go train them, do something, connect them to contracts. He's very business astute. And I
Hmm.
said, that's a great idea. So I got to work on this crazy concept that was like a total moonshot. We never thought it was going to work, of starting a consulting firm in America that will represent vetted, trusted partners in Ukraine and introduce them to opportunities here in America, not necessarily as a broker or a middleman,
Hmm.
but as a passion play, as a way to help. Because my hypothesis was, if we can get revenue flowing into those firms, they're all mid-size, right? 50 to 500
Hmm.
employees. then that revenue trickles down to the employees who each have
Yes.
4 family members that they're supporting. And each one of those 4 family members has a frontline soldier that they're supporting. So that was kind of my hypothesis. And it was crazy. It looked like it never would work, but it did work. And we've been doing it for 3 years now, connecting these firms with tens of millions of dollars worth of closed won contracts in
Wow.
America. And Ameritech right now indirectly supports thousands of Ukrainian civilians through those business relationships that we've been building.
So basically through the contracts that you help your clients find through Ameritech network,
Yes.
you make the money flow back to Ukrainian service firms, and they have the money to pay salaries, etc., and
Yes.
to keep their team. Yeah, I think overall we're talking now in at the end of 2025. Overall, we see that the tech service landscape is not a positive one right now, so it's difficult to grow, and that's why I think this help is very much appreciated and very important one, because you're bringing work. We love to work. We can
Yeah,
work.
me too.
We're good. We're
Right.
good at it. But yeah, if we could get the contracts that otherwise is difficult to get, that's a big help.
Yes.
Okay. So I will share with our listeners a little story, like how we got introduced, and
Yeah.
I will share what I have not shared with you previously. So you might be a little surprised, and then we'll uncover the things we're working on. So initially, I got an introduction and a question from one of my alumni of the CEO flagman program that I was running for founders of software tech companies. And she was saying, "Hey, I have a really great partner, and I know that you're probably the only one person who would dare to launch an American education kind of for Ukrainian market." I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's me, the crazy one." And she said he's really professional and he helps us a lot, and I see that he has relevant knowledge and a great expertise, so maybe you two should start talking. And then we started talking, and I think, I don't know, I could count by the calendar, but I think it took me 2 or 3 months to really start going and believing in it, because I was honestly testing you. I'm Ukrainian, I'm skeptical, I'm from tech. We're double, triple skeptical, because
Oh, yeah.
I need to make sure, I need to verify, I need you to pass my flags, I need you to pass my filters. So we
Yes.
are doing it now, and I'm upfront with you. I'm telling this in front of people that
Yeah.
you did pass all my filters,
Wow.
and I'm sold, and I'm happy, and I feel proud with every inquiry, with every question about, "Hey, what are you doing? You're opening American faculty." I feel that I'm doing something important that is really, really
Yeah.
relevant to our clientele right now, something that can really help them close the deal. So
Yes.
the deal is that it took me a few months to get on board. That was a
Yeah.
tough one, I guess,
As you
in
should
the
be. As you
beginning.
should be.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Thank you. But overall, and then we came up with the idea of doing some education and training that should both be affordable and very efficient. And when we were thinking about the structure, we were thinking about long term and start of an American faculty, where I see that we should help Ukrainian companies get access to an overall expertise of how to run their business in the States and get a better expansion. But then we decided to come up to the idea of the turning point. So can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, why do you think that converting point, the first impression Ukrainian software service companies make, is
Yes.
so critical?
Well, it's interesting because you and I had this conversation, Sasha, just as part of your vetting process, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you asked me questions because I work with about probably 30 active partners in Ukraine that are mid-sized firms, and so you had a lot of questions for me, and I guess I worked through this process, right? Because I had
Mm-hmm.
never done business in Ukraine. So here I am, I have this desire to work with great Ukrainian firms. I know they're there, but now I have to find them, right? With no connections in Ukraine and no idea because I've never worked with Ukrainians. Although I know a lot of Ukrainians here in America, so I know you're great people, honestly. So I started with 400 firms, right? I went to LinkedIn, I did what I know how to do, and started with 400 mid-sized firms. I looked at every single website, I looked at every LinkedIn company page, I looked at all of the written content that they put out there into the universe. And it was like one after another. I'm like, no, spelling mistakes on the website, grammar errors, this isn't going to work. Americans are really sensitive to that. If they see missing letters or things that are worded incorrectly and you're coding for them and every character matters, that's a big deal, right? So I just started looking and kind of filtering, and I created a 30-point vetting questionnaire that I also offered up to these companies to vet them. And I offered to travel back to Ukraine to meet with the CEOs and founders and tour their offices, because if I'm attaching my reputation to these firms, I wanted to make sure it's not two guys in a garage. Sorry, two guys in the garage, but no offense. So
you need to grow up a little bit, and then
that's right. So the very first layer was the first impression layer. It's looking at the content that they've put out there, and I saw that sadly that seems to be a very weak muscle, I would say, for a lot of Ukrainian firms.
Why? You know why? Because Ukrainian mentality is not about self-promotion.
Yeah,
like I would be an outlier, because for me it's easy to speak about things that I'm doing with great pride, and it's very difficult in terms of mentality, where it's boasting was always like a big black sheep, like you don't do that.
Yes. Yeah. And listen, that aligns also with my ethics and my moral compass, right? I don't think that pride or the ego is healthy. In fact, you know this, Sasha, because we've talked about it. I think the ego is like your number one enemy in business. That being said, a first impression is really important, right? Because there are some quality aspects of the service you're providing that are inferred based off of how you communicate yourself to the market, right? So like I said, if you have inaccuracies, missing, letters, things are jumbled on the website, it just is not a good look. And in such a detail-oriented profession like IT services, I think it's really important to make a good first impression. But not just there, right? So you asked me, like, where would you dig in? You've sat through hundreds of sales conversations between Ukrainian firms and US customers. What are some of like the key deficiencies that you've identified? Where would you dig in? So I think the biggest, most glaring thing is the discovery call. So once you get the US,
the first call with the client?
Yeah, the very first call. So we don't call it a first call in America. We don't call it an introduction. We call it a discovery call. And we use those words very intentionally, because the purpose of that first call is not for you to tell them about how great you are, right? To your point.
Why?
Yeah, right. Me. Now sign my contract.
Look,
right?
My diplomas, my certificates.
Right. Exactly.
Customer reviews.
Yes, I call it the dog and pony show, right? It's trying to make yourself look as great as possible.
Isn't that what Americans do?
No, not in the last 15 years. So if you've ever watched an Alex Hormozi video on YouTube, you can tell that he's not super polished, right? But it's more important what comes out of his mouth.
I watched him live in San Diego. I did better.
Yeah. He's got like a muscle t-shirt on with the sleeves cut off. Like he's, his hair is a little messy.
That's not serious business. For Ukrainians, this is not serious. It means you don't have money, or you don't know how to look good. How to look presentable.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not saying that's not important, but what I'm saying is, like, the questions you ask and your learning process as you're getting in alignment with this customer is more important than that even, right? So
you mean smart questions in discovery calls.
Smart questions. And here's why it matters. You have an opportunity to be one of two people to your customer. You can be a partner, right? Challenging them with innovation, new ideas, concepts that maybe they haven't considered, aligning yourself beside them to help them accomplish their business goals and objectives. Or you can be a vendor. Here's my product or service, please buy it, right? And
who should I strive to be? I mean, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I don't care whatever they name me, as long as I'm getting paid on time, and as long as they grow the contract. What is the difference there? I'll play the devil here, okay?
Please, yeah. So that's good. So Here's why it's important, because if you come to them and you say, here's what we do, and here's what our services or product is, right? But you don't talk about what it means to their business, then you're coming to them just like the 4 billion other salespeople, right? There's no differentiation there. So when you come in equal alignment with all of the other salespeople, they view you as a commodity. And they think like, okay, I have 5 firms that can do exactly the same thing. Now, what's the
So I'll
logical
choose the
next step to
cheapest.
that? Exactly. You nailed it. Now I just need to find the cheapest, right? And I think that's why so many Ukrainian firms find themselves in this conversation where it's about price. It becomes about price. They're chipping you down. They're working you down.
Aren't they just in the beginning going to Ukraine just to get it cheaper? I mean, I thought that's how they choose a location of the provider.
Yeah, well, this might surprise you, but the tens of millions of dollars worth of contracts that we've generated over the last 3 years, they didn't come to Ukraine. We went to them. So this is a fundamental difference. This is the difference between what we call servicing demand, where they come to you, right? And you're the waitress at the restaurant. Here's the menu. What would you like to order?
Yes.
And creating demand, where you go and you knock on their door and you create demand for your products or services. This is a completely different side of sales. So that's actually the approach that we've used to win business over the last 3 years, even when most firms are not able to win and to grow and to continue growing. And there's actually a book written about this. I would encourage everyone to read it. And maybe we can get one of your wonderful team members to drop a link in the comment section.
Okay. Sure.
It's called The Challenger Sale. And the Challenger Sale was written during the 2008 financial crisis in America. We had this horrible financial crisis.
Great time.
Yeah, I remember it very well. So they found that like 10% of salespeople were still continuing to hit their numbers, exceed their quotas, while 90% were really struggling to do that. And so they set out to do a study to understand why that was. And what they found was the 10% that were still successful were what they call challengers. So the challengers are not sitting back waiting for the business to come to them. The challenger comes and knocks on your door and says, hey, Sasha, I'm an expert in this field. I've taken a look at your business. I think that we can help you grow. I think we can help you do better. I think that we can bring some fresh ideas that you want to consider, right? And they challenge you out of your comfort zone to do something different, to grow your business, to drive revenue, to drive efficiency, to cut costs, right? But they're viewed as what I call a trusted advisor or an expert. They come to you with the ideas, right? They make recommendations. That's
So
what I'm
they don't
talking
just
about.
come saying, "Hi, I think you work with an expensive vendor, and you should ditch them for us. Will be cheaper and better." They come with a business mindset, and they make sure they understand the business need behind it, and maybe the stakeholder benefits behind it. So, I mean, some people could confuse this approach with a simple differentiator between inbound and outbound, but what you're talking about is a completely different approach. Is outbound plus business analysis, plus business advising, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, let's say it is inbound. They come to you, right? You don't differentiate yourself as a trusted advisor. There's nothing saying that they can't go seek other bids after they've talked to you, right? Of course, maybe they have a mutual friend that referred you. Maybe you did great work for a friend of theirs. That still is not a guarantee that they're going to go with you. And in fact, I talked to a founder the other day, in fact, that you introduced me to, and I won't use his real name, but he told me that they had like a 10% conversion rate on the inbound leads that they were getting introduced. And it was 10% from the discovery call to closed one. That's a low percentage, right? So he came to me like, well, we have these inbound kind of referrals, right? These warm leads, but we're not closing a high enough number of them. And it's because
what do you think the right conversion would be for inbound leads? But those are referral leads from somebody who knows them, right?
Yeah. So I have partners that are successfully closing 50, 60+% of their referral leads that they're getting. Yeah. And now they weren't initially. We had to come through and we had to teach them how to differentiate themselves, ask the right questions, right? Become a trusted advisor, be a student of their business and make recommendations, right? So this ties back to the discovery that we're talking to. I'll bring it full circle. If you're not asking questions, how do you know what their business objectives are? How do you understand the impact that you're able to make on their business? How can you quantify that and convince them there's a return on investment? Listen, guys, this is really important. Americans don't view you as a cost. We view you as an investment, okay? Now, in big corporations in America, you're required to prove a 3 to 5x return on investment before you purchase a software solution or before you hire a team to build anything. So that's how important it is to us. If we can see a 3 to 5x return on investment from working with you, we will spend $1 million to work with you. And listen, we're living proof of that, right? We've closed millions of dollars worth of business. They will work with you, and they won't even shop around if you bring them innovation, fresh ideas. You're a challenger. You show them how you can add value to their business. And I have 5 value categories that I focus on with my companies to help them understand what questions to ask, how to make that impact on their customer's business. And so that's the importance of discovery. If you're talking 90% of the time on your initial calls,
Yeah, you
you're
just don't have
missing
time.
it entirely.
You don't have time to gather insights and to actually establish rapport. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly,
Rapport.
but to establish trust and understanding of your client needs. Because I was always saying to my salespeople that it's a dance. Like you need to
Yeah.
make sure
Yes.
he makes the move, you make the move. He makes the move,
Oh,
you
I
make the
love
move.
that.
Then it's a dance. I was even like so foolish when I was still in the time serving as a chief of operations in software company. I was doing the teaching thing. I was always the teacher, honestly.
Yeah.
I was marketing with Red, the text, the conversations in Upwork and LinkedIn, in email, whatever. And when I see a salesperson who is sending an email that is like 3 pages long, and the customer who before that asks something in 2 or 3 lines, they know it's a dance. You try to either get him on the call and then expand your 3 pages, or you reply in 3 lines. It's a dance. He writes
Yes.
3 lines, you write 3 lines, you agree on the next step, and we dance.
That's right. That's right. Yes, I like it. Well, and what happens if your dance partner is 90% of the dance? That's a little uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, it's putting you off. Like, I don't want to see that guy.
Desperate, right? He's desperate, right? All
Yeah.
these things start coming to mind. Same in business, right? So we've studied this in America because business to us is like it's an art and a science. So we study the data. And what we found from analyzing like hundreds of thousands of calls is that if you're around 50-50 or 60-40, you have like a 47% better chance of closing the deal
Okay.
than if you're 90-10. So that's almost a 50% better chance. And this is where it really becomes important to learn how to dance. I guess that's what I do. Maybe I'm a glorified sales dance instructor, teaching people how to be 50-50. That's a great analogy. I'm a horrible dancer, by the way, so that might not fit me perfectly.
Me too.
But
My husband is much better one.
there you go. That's funny.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So just that, so that we understand your goals better, like where do you see this going? I mean, you started 3 years ago, business built on passion. You started with consulting and helping Ukrainian companies get more deals their way. And now we're launching an education wing of that expertise. And I'm hopeful that I'm really happy to see that my clients already see and they ask me like, hey, what's happening? And when I say um, how great the investment is and what is the return and upside potential, they're excited to talk to you. So I'm really, the traction is happening even before like the big announcements and launches and everything. But anyway, where do you see this going later? What would you be, I don't know, happy or proud of in a few years' time?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot, and we talk about that also with my internal team because I think it's good to visualize where you want to be, right, in the future. So, this is a little bit different because I started from my heart, not from my pocketbook. So I didn't view Ukraine as a way to make money. I viewed Ukraine as a place where I could make an impact and save lives and put food on people's tables. And I'm very happy that we're able to do that. So because it's that, I would say like, I
Maybe
would
you
like,
measure your success in the number of people you
yeah,
help. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
There is a KPI for everything.
Yeah. So, we have 30 partners now that are absolutely in the top
Wow.
10% in terms of quality and expertise in Ukraine. I could see us 12 months from now having 100.
Wow.
Because I think there's that many. I mean, Ukraine is on another level. It's right up there with the United States in terms of expertise and quality.
In terms of technical expertise, you mean?
Technical expertise. Yeah. You have a tremendously intelligent population in Ukraine. Lots of
It's
people
true.
are
It's
doctors,
tough.
lawyers,
It's
experts.
hard. It's hard living a life as a Ukrainian because you're so smart.
Yeah,
I'm
yes, it
joking.
must be extremely difficult. So I could see us having 100 partners in Ukraine or more. And I'm excited
But
because every partner that we work with, we then help them generate revenue. Now they're helping their employees, their family
mhm,
members are being helped, and the frontline soldiers that are fighting are being helped because they can purchase gear and equipment for them. So it has this trickle down effect. And
yeah,
it's just my opinion. Look,
that's
it's no
beautiful.
secret. I'm sure some of the people watching this are like, well, USA, Ukraine, there's been, we were watching the
Hmm.
news, all this stuff. There's drama always, right?
Yeah.
But what we have here is American people helping Ukrainian people. And I tell everyone, the Ukrainian people and the American people have a love and a bond that will never be broken. So
Oh,
if you go and you talk to the average American person, they love the Ukrainian people and they want to do something to help. In the tech sector, that number goes up to like 98% in America. And I
hmm.
have, I have 1,000 calls a year with founders and CEOs in America. And I'm telling you, it is that high. So
Wow.
I think my personal
Even
belief,
despite the war, so they're
even,
willing to give the business our
yeah,
way, even though like I mean my
yes,
team is very responsible, and for them when they don't have electricity, they make up for the hours, they make up for the result. I don't care for the
yeah,
hours, I just need the
yeah,
results. But the big American corporations would be willing to risk their contracts, even though they know there are electricity shut outings, blackouts.
blackouts,
So
yeah.
yeah,
No, they're not. No, here's the secret. They're not. So they have risk managers that work for them. They don't care how
of
lovely you
course,
are, how
yes.
intelligent you are, what the cause is. They
It's
quantify
just
that risk and they make business
yes.
decisions. But that's why the Ameritech model works so well, because what we figured out was that when we come to partners in the US that have access to big opportunities, sometimes those contracts allow for them to select subcontractors to work for them on those projects, and they have the discretion to choose who those subcontractors are. When you do work in the defense sector or with the US
Hmm.
government, the scrutiny is a lot tighter.
Yes.
But we've signed contracts with big organizations, and
Hmm.
we did it as getting our Ukrainian partner in as a sub under a prime contractor that's here in the United States.
Okay. Under a
So
prime subcontractor.
yeah, so it's a little bit of an interesting answer to your question. The truth is
Hmm.
no. Large organizations typically won't unless there's some other bond or connection. Some
Hmm.
some of them maybe will,
So
but
it's
I
not a
haven't.
direct contract, but is you go through an intermediary, a primary contractor.
Yeah.
That makes
So yeah,
sense.
the bulk of the contract goes to the Ukrainian team, but usually there's a US project manager. There's somebody
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
US side that's overseeing the project, who's accountable, right? And then what
I
we
think
do
that's
is
smart and good because they have the same hours. They are able to pick up the phone, whatever. I
yes,
mean, I think
yeah,
it's the way it should be,
yes.
and yeah.
So what we
Hmm.
so we approach those people, right? Those are Americans that have access to opportunities. We approach them and say, we know these people personally in Ukraine. We've traveled to their offices, we've met them, we ate pizza with their employees, we ran a 30-point analysis on their business, we can vouch for them. And that goes a long way too. I think it's really important when you have somebody that can vouch for you. So
Hmm.
that's kind of the magic of what we do, right?
Wow.
We vouch for them, but also we have an insanely effective lead generation system that
That
produces
was my
around,
next question because you're
yeah,
basically looking to triple your business. Are you able to
yes,
generate X3 demand?
yeah,
Because
yes,
it sounds very head on,
Yeah.
especially talking now when I see some of our clients who are flat this year, and flat is good, you know.
Hmm.
So how
Flat
do
is
you
bad.
generate?
I don't like flat
Uh,
because
I don't
if you're
like
not
flat either,
growing, you're
but
dying.
sometimes it's what you need to settle for. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't like it. It's not a loser mentality,
Yeah.
but sometimes you need to see that maybe this year it's actually a win. Maybe that's a
Yeah.
good thing. I
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
founders sending sometimes their CV my way because they're looking for a job because they need to keep paying the
Yeah.
bills and they close down. So that
Yeah.
is bad. So flat sometimes is not so bad. So
Well,
how are you
sure.
going to
I
generate
get your point.
demand?
Yeah, I get your point. So, and what I tell people is like, I've been in tech for 20 years
Mm,
and being working in tech, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of your founders watching this to do the Dr. Dre right now. The Dr. Dre is where they hear the music and they're like, yeah, their head starts going up and down. So here it comes. When you work in technology, technology is all about change. I remember when we went to the cloud, and that was a major change moment, right? And there's
yes.
always change. If you're looking for something that is totally consistent, stable, technology probably isn't the industry because you have
No.
so many innovations, things are constantly changing. So, like, what I've found is that you have to be hungry. The people that we work best with are the people that are unreasonable in their pursuit of success. They wake up every morning, they're not satisfied unless they're growing, unless they're pushing their business. And
Mm,
in the last 2 years, in 2023, the red lights started flashing, right? You have the proliferation of these AI coding and development tools
yeah.
starting to happen. And people were like, whoa, this is a major shakeup in the market. And we started pivoting then. So we started pivoting to an AI innovation lab model back in 2023, and it's taken us 2 years to make that pivot. And I
Hmm.
mean, now we're generating 3 to 5 AI innovation opportunities a week. And those
That's cool.
opportunities are with consulting firms that have access to big enterprise opportunities. So it fits the same way that we did business 3 years ago because we're
Hmm.
finding great partners that can introduce us. We're vouching
Hmm.
for our partners, but we're pivoting to AI centric models. We can do in a couple of days what used to take weeks to do through our
Hmm.
through our partners. But we need partners that are comfortable, like really jumping into the surf with us and swimming it and figuring out how to reorganize and restructure and innovate.
Hmm.
Because AI is not a limiting factor; it's an exponential growth factor for a lot of the founders that are in your program because it unlocks the ability to move 10 times faster and create 10 times better results.
But
And
that's 10 times less hours for us. We are not going to get such big contracts. We need money. We need, I don't know, long-term annual contracts with more employees. We're sold in that. We're
yeah,
not benefiting from getting things done faster, actually. We're not.
yeah, yeah. Well, that would be true, but it makes an assumption that the revenue is 10 times less that you're charging for your services.
Yes. Is not? Is it
No, it's
not?
not. No, it's not. No, not right now, because what
Okay.
we found is that a lot of these enterprise organizations are low and slow. They don't understand AI. They struggle with it, right? The consulting firms working with them struggle with it. You've seen a lot of this on your LinkedIn feed, right? A lot of these big
Yeah.
consulting firms struggle because they don't understand AI. So right now, what we're doing is we're moving faster, we're building bigger, we're charging a little bit less, but we're getting a lot more done. The projects are growing, bless you. The
Thank you.
projects are growing in scope and scale. So we're actually seeing an increase in the amount of revenue that we're able to generate off of these
Oh.
projects and an increased satisfaction with the customer. But
Hmm.
here's the thing, if you don't do good work, it's just going to expose you 10 times faster.
Yeah.
You
That's
don't have
true.
that runway anymore where you can kind of like get away with building
And then
crappy
in the last two
software.
weeks, you just do the magic. So it's
100%.
not for that kind of last night student exam preparation approach. So that thing doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
do I hear you correctly that you're saying you would never work with the founder or the team that is kind of burnt out or is taking flat for a good answer. Like you're really looking to work with founders who are hungry to grow their revenue and profits more.
Yeah. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that most founders watching this video want to grow. And I think like that's just a
They
no-brainer.
wouldn't be
So
wasting their time otherwise, right?
yeah, but you know how it is. Like it's a psychology game, right? Being a
Mm,
founder is a psychological game. And sometimes you get discouraged and you get broken down and you're like, how am I going to make it through another year of this? I didn't grow last year, right? That's your little way of like, that's maybe God's way of telling you need to do something different, or
okay.
you're risking it. So what I tell everybody is like, I'll come in and I'll show you ways to do things differently. I'll introduce new ideas to you. I'll bring fresh strategies to you. We'll talk about how we can grow. And then usually that's enough to get the founder like, oh, great, get them excited again, like, okay, I can grow. But what I worry is like a lot of founders, they pretend like they're okay with being flat because they gave up a little bit on their ability to grow and their confidence, and like their old strategies aren't working anymore. Well, when that happens, you need new strategies. You can't
You get
be in.
tired. Why every year you need a new strategy? Why there is now is a DevOps hype and you can charge crazy money for that, or Salesforce or SAP in Europe. And then now you need to switch gear to AI. And it's like the cycle is always there and there, and you're just doing the same
Yeah,
thing all over again, rebuilding your business like every 3 years or something. And
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
never-ending story. You can
yeah.
never stand still, and that's
That's
tiring. That's exhausting.
that's technology. So there's
Oof.
so
Is
I
a,
work.
a high compensation, high demand job, right? So
Yes, yeah.
that's the
If you
job
don't
you
want,
signed up for.
that's
Okay.
what you signed up for. Hello,
Oh, yeah.
people. If you don't want that, there's a lot of good buses you can drive that follow the same route every day, that pick up
Yeah.
the same passengers every day, but you're going
It's
to
the
get
same pay
compensated.
every day. Yeah.
You're going to get compensated for driving the bus. If you want to make a lot of money, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. And
I
but
love
but
it.
but the good news
It kind
is,
of gives back the responsibility to me as a founder.
yeah, I mean,
You
look,
chose to be here.
I'd be doing you guys a disservice if I said, oh, it's okay, just be content with not growing. Like, no, my job is to motivate and push you to grow. That's my job. That's how I view it. So people that are uncomfortable with that, that's fine. But then that's probably not what you need to be, looking into, is getting someone
Yeah.
like me to show you new strategies. I'm going to show you how to do it right and how to get results, but you have to rise to the occasion. You have to bring your A game to that. And we're all in together. And that's the attitude that we have with our partners. I have, Sasha, one of the best Salesforce consulting firms in the world partnered with us. That's a Ukrainian-led organization. These guys are miles beyond any other Salesforce consulting firm that I've ever worked with.
Wow.
And what do you think? Did they have to change their game since 2023? Oh yeah, they did big time, because Salesforce came out with their little, AI kind of thing, but you
Yeah.
have this demand from the market to integrate deep like AI into their Salesforce, right? And get predictive with their CRM system and have all these expanded capabilities. So that's what makes these firms the best. It's their hungry growth mindset that they have, wanting to innovate, wanting to succeed. And that's what makes you the best fit for your customers as a challenger too. They love
Hmm.
that. They absolutely love
I
it.
agree. I agree. I agree. I've actually been working today with some of my clients and pushing them to expand the way they think about the service they provide, and to they see this milestone, but let's watch 5 milestones up
Yeah.
and target there, and kind of shrink the distance and try to learn what the fifth milestone might be, because this is what keeps you in the game. I think working hard and being motivated about your job is what actually helps a lot of people not be depressed. I view that as a very
Yes.
healthy mentality thing,
Yes.
because
That's right.
it's kind of a fashion now. A lot of people my age and people I know are taking antidepressants and difficult kind
Yeah.
of pills. And when they ask me, why are you never depressed? I say, I'm just really busy. I'm just really
Yeah.
busy with what I do, with my
Yeah.
life, with my family, with my work, with creating American faculty, for God's sake.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
And it keeps me running. And if I'm running, I feel that I live the day full of purpose, and
Yes.
that's what helps you feel satisfied with your life, I think.
Well, if you don't have anxiety and depression from working with crazy Americans like me,
Oh.
then you've got what it takes. I'm telling you right now. But
Okay.
I want to say something to the audience. I think this is important, right?
Sure.
Because we're laughing, joking around, like you have to have this mindset of success and everything. At the same time, there's rockets striking Kyiv every single day,
Yes.
right? And like there's bombs being dropped, drones exploding, and I want the viewers to understand, like when I hired my first employee in Ukraine, because we have a team in Ukraine, she cried and she said, Greg, for the first time, I feel like somebody outside of Ukraine is with me, understanding what's going
Hmm.
on, has my back. And that's a powerful thing. And I want your founders to know, like, maybe you are burnout, maybe you are exhausted. And you know what? You probably have a right to be, because life is crazy when you're living in this country that's being invaded, right? And
Yeah.
maybe some of them had to flee to Europe, right? And they had to restart
Hmm.
their life. That's hard. That's not easy. So I just
Hmm.
want to acknowledge that. And I want to say, like, I view my role as coming alongside you to kind of help you be that faithful, companion that's going to help you grow and succeed despite all of the adversity, despite all of the hardship you guys are going through. So don't get me wrong. I'm not taking it lightly. I understand
Hmm.
that there are people that are really discouraged, but that's why we're here. We're here to help you. I hope that
That's
comes
true.
across. Yeah.
That's true. Thank you so much. I'll make a kind of a final note. I had a call today with a client, and she joined from the shelter because Odessa was bombed heavily today in the morning. But
Yeah.
it didn't stop her, like she was willing to work. We were going through her offers, improving them, etc., etc. And it's like for me, I said we could reschedule. I mean, I have a strict cancellation policy, no show, etc. But it's
Yeah.
okay. I can make an exception. Let's talk next week. I don't care. I just want you to feel better. I feel better. I feel prepared. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's jump.
Oh,
I
I love that.
invested into attending Forbes Summit last week. Let's talk about that. How I can work on creating more network opportunities, more opportunities for me to sell my services, etc. I'm like, wow, I'm blown
She's a
away.
survivor. She's a survivor. Those are the people that survive and
Yeah,
thrive despite what
yeah.
happens around them. I love
Uh,
that. Oh,
she didn't have any hint of I don't know, sadness or stress in her eyes or anything. So I'm
mhm.
very proud to work with people like that. So
Yes. Yes.
to wrap it up, let's go over the main points. You had a great career. You made a stupid amount of money.
That comment's going to come back to haunt me. I can just imagine the comments that are going to be dropped on
I'm
this video.
sorry. I'm good at marketing, so I know
Yeah.
which one will stick around. And
Which one's a
then,
highlight, right?
yes. Then you saw a girl in Irpin, and
Elisa.
that made you
Yeah.
travel to Ukraine and start your charity mission, which later
Yeah.
kind of diverted into a business mission or a combined mission, and that's
Yeah,
how
it's
you
combined.
started Ameritouch. And now we are partnering with you to create even more opportunities for Ukrainian service companies to work with American clients and to improve their processes. Because one thing if is to generate leads and opportunities for them. Another thing is to be able to vouch for them and to know that their standards are good. So
Mhm.
this is where education comes in, and this is where we want to give as many opportunities to learn as possible. That's why I
Yes.
think in the product we're now pricing them very low. Honestly, people know me.
Yes.
I like money, but this is very affordable
Yeah.
because we just want to make sure that so many companies, even small ones, can afford it and
Mhm.
benefit from working with you, from studying from you, from
Mhm.
shifting their things. And for the burned out founders, we're there to say that it's okay. to feel burnout, take a week off or a weekend, whatever you can afford, and then find your hunger back and get back in the game.
Yes.
You're not a bus driver. This is what you signed up
No.
for. If you don't like it, sell your
That's right.
company, which we can help you with, and then become a bus driver. There's
Yeah.
nothing bad about it. Just
Yeah.
make sure to understand the consequences.
Yeah. Don't do that. Hang in there. Don't you quit on us, okay? Don't become a
Okay.
bus driver.
Okay, thank you so much for being here,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited for what's coming next. And
Yes, me too.
as a very bad YouTube host, I will say at the end, please sign up for our channel and leave comments. We'll be happy to go back and reply to them. And
Yeah.
there is a bunch of videos that Greg showed for us, very short, very concise, about what could be improved in sales calls, in the discovery calls for Ukrainian service companies. So make sure to watch that. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you somewhere along the way.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sasha. Thank you for having me. And we're going to go deep. So we're starting with some good starting points, but we've got a whole program that we're going to be rolling out to help you guys. So I'm really excited to meet you and help you survive and to continue to grow.
And thrive.
Yay.
Perfect. Yeah, great. Thank you so much. This was
Thank
great.
you.